I never thought I'd be caught in a fight like this, least of all with the HOA. But there I was, standing on my own front porch, watching Delilah Thornfield destroy my garden gnomes yet again. It had become a routine for her 7 times she'd done it now, but this time it felt different. This time she was crossing a line, and I wasn't going to take it anymore. It was 5 a.m. when I saw her through the window, her golf club swinging through the air, smashing the ceramic faces of my gnomes one by one. "Your ugly decorations are ruining our property value," she yelled at me when she caught sight of me watching her. These weren't just decorations. These were Sarah's gnomes, the ones she loved, the ones that brought her joy, even during the hardest of times during her fight with cancer. After her funeral, they were the only things that kept me from losing my mind in that empty house. "I don't care what they meant to your dead wife," she sneered, grinding the last gnome under her designer heel. "They're staying gone this time." "Wrong move, lady. Dead wrong." She thought she could bully some grieving widower into submission. What she didn't know was that I was more than just a broken man. I was a defense systems engineer, and I had 6 months of rage simmering inside me. She was about to meet a gnome she'd never forget. Let me back up and tell you how this all started. My name's Julian Blackwood, and 18 months ago I lost the only woman who ever understood me. Sarah, my wife, died after a brutal battle with breast cancer, and for the longest time all I had left were the memories and her collection of garden gnomes. She wasn't into the cheap plastic ones you'd find at Walmart. No, Sarah had a thing for hand-painted ceramic gnomes, each one with its own personality. She'd find them at estate sales, coming home with stories about each gnome's previous life. Even when she was too weak to get out of bed, she would smile at those gnomes' ridiculous little faces that kept her going. After Sarah passed, I couldn't stand the silence in our old house, so I packed up the 7 gnomes she loved most and moved to Willowbrook Estates, a place that looked like it came straight out of a magazine. Every house was identical, every lawn perfectly manicured. It was everything Sarah hated, but I needed a fresh start. And that's when I met Delilah Thornfield. Imagine a real estate agent with a stick up her butt wrapped in a pastel blazer that probably cost more than my entire mortgage. Her blonde bob never moved even in a hurricane, and her white BMW was covered with those obnoxious sold magnets that slapped against the doors like applause every time she hit a pothole. 3 days after I moved in, I found her standing in my driveway clutching her HOA handbook like it was the Bible. "These lawn ornaments violate Section 4.7 of our community standards," she told me, her finger jabbing at my gnomes like she was trying to impale them. I pulled out my tape measure. 16 inches tall, well within the 18-inch limit. "We'll see about that," I muttered, but she just smiled smugly, convinced she had won. The next morning, I woke up to find 2 of my gnomes destroyed, smashed into pieces in my driveway. I checked the security footage, and there she was. Delilah's BMW, parked under the cover of darkness, her headlights off, quietly sneaking around, destroying my property. When I confronted her, she gasped like I had accused her of something terrible. "Oh, Julian, probably teenagers. You know how destructive kids can be, right?" She was pretending like it wasn't her. But I knew better. This wasn't about property values. This was about control. Delilah had found a grieving man who she thought would be easy to push around. For the next 6 months, she terrorized me. Every time I replaced the broken gnomes, she'd strike again, either with a lawnmower incident or some other accident that destroyed my gnomes. It felt like I was losing Sarah all over again. But what Delilah didn't realize was that I wasn't just a broken man. I was an engineer who built automated defense systems for Boeing. And while she was playing her little power games, I was quietly studying her, learning her schedule, and planning my revenge. And then this morning she crossed the line for good. Gnome number 7 was destroyed in a brutal attack. That was it. I had everything I needed to fight back. She thought she could break me, but she had no idea what I was capable of. 3 days after that final attack, Delilah made her first big mistake. She got cocky. I was installing a new security camera system when a certified letter arrived. The letter claimed that my gnomes violated a new interpretation of Section 4.7, and I was being fined $50 per day for each violation. But when I looked closer, something didn't sit right. The letter had been created before my gnomes were destroyed. Delilah had written a threat letter before committing the crime. I spent hours at the county courthouse digging through HOA records. And guess what I found the smoking gun? Every legitimate rule change required proper documentation and voting procedures, but Delilah had just made up her new interpretation of the rules on the spot. And even better, she had marketed houses with gnome collections just months before, hypocrisy at its finest. Armed with all the evidence I needed, I started building my counterattack. I purchased 4 new gnomes perfectly legal within the size limits and placed them in my front flower bed. That evening, Delilah's BMW pulled into my driveway and I watched as she tried to hide her panic. When I confronted her, she started talking about higher standards in our neighborhood, but it was clear she was stalling. The next morning, I woke up to find my garden hose sliced into pieces. Delilah had gone full throttle with her harassment. But what she didn't know was that I had been documenting every single violation she had committed, every false complaint, and every act of destruction. I was building a case against her. 1 week later, the final confrontation came. Delilah tried to pull another stunt by calling in a safety violation complaint. She had hired someone to pretend to be a surveyor, but I caught him red-handed. The same guy who had almost soiled himself when my security system had caught him in the act. I knew then that it was time to take her down for good. I built a 12-foot automated memorial garden gnome, something that would make Delilah regret ever thinking she could mess with me. This gnome wasn't just a tribute to Sarah, it was a full-blown legal automated defense system that would protect her memory. Delilah, thinking she could scare me, tried to get the city to tear it down. But it was completely legal. In fact, it was encouraged by local ordinances. When she saw it, her reaction was priceless. She shrieked, screamed, and pointed at my gnome, trying to get it removed. But Guardian, as I called it, wasn't just a gnome. It was a system designed to protect my wife's memory from someone like her. It was programmed with facial recognition, motion sensors, and even a sound system to keep her away. It sent alerts to the authorities if it detected any threats. And guess what? It worked. She was caught red-handed once and for all. And then came the courtroom showdown. Delilah had filed a lawsuit against me for emotional distress, but when I presented my evidence, it was clear who the real villain was. Delilah had destroyed my property, stalked my every move, and tried to harass me into submission. And the best part? She did all of it in front of the entire neighborhood. Justice was served. Delilah lost. She sold her house for $15,000 less than the asking price. And I got to keep my gnomes, and Sarah's memory was forever protected by a piece of art that symbolized my grief and my fight for what was right. So here's the question. How many times would you let someone destroy your most precious memories before you fought back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've ever had to fight an HOA bully, share your story with us. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's creating something beautiful that will outlast the hate.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.